Looking to enhance the appeal and performance of your gym with state-of-the-art equipment? Look no further than the Gym Administrator. Founded by Sal Corrente, professional wrestling manager, promoter, and author of the great book Bruno Sammartino, the autobiography of wrestling's living legend, available on Amazon.com, the Gym Administrator will spot you on that final rep and assist you every step of the way from purchase through installation, whether it be strength training, cardiovascular training, or performance enhancement. The Gym Administrator works with a wide array of leading vendors and suppliers, carefully selected to meet the diverse needs of your clientele. Service the way you remember it. Contact us at 914-494-1066 or visit our website at thegymadministrator.com, as well as all social media platforms. The Gym Administrator. All your fitness needs under one roof. Scan the barcode at the bottom of the screen to get started today. You know what, Jimmy? How about it's Halloween, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not going to be at your level on this. You're a superstar Billy Graham, and as far as this goes, and I'm like Silvano Souza or Joe Turco. But we're going to talk about some great horror movies.
We are? Okay. Okay.
And I think we're going to get a lot of chat input on that.
All right. Well, it is Halloween after all. Look, my knowledge of horror movies goes back to the silent films, okay? So if I were to give you a crash course on great Halloween films of the past century, it really starts with the silent films. There was a man called Lon Chaney Sr.
Oh, yeah.
Ever heard of him?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, Lon Chaney Sr. was known as the Man of a Thousand Faces. He played the Hunchback of Notre Dame in 1923. He played Phantom of the Opera in 1925. He was incredible. He was an actor who brought his own makeup case. He applied the makeup himself. Can you imagine a Hollywood star that would do that today, Benny?
No, absolutely not.
You're talking about a Hollywood actor whose job is, okay, it's silent, but he still is talking words to express the emotions of the scene.
Right. That's very important.
That was the beauty of the silent era. So it was an art form unto itself. There's a film, the original Dracula, called Nosferatu from 1922. Oh my God. It's still to this day. By the way, it's those scenes that you see in the David Bowie Queen Under Pressure video are taken from Nosferatu.
Okay.
From 1922, just in case. Just a little pop culture info there for you. All right. When the 30s arrived, Universal, which of course is still a giant today, you see, Universal should get on their hands and knees and thank the monsters of the 1930s Universal horror films, because you're talking about Bela Lugosi as Dracula, Boris Karloff as Frankenstein, then you had the Bride of Frankenstein, Boris Karloff plays the Mummy, you have Claude Rains as the Invisible Man. I could go on and on. It was just an eruption of Hollywood's box office smash hits. You do realize, Benny, by the 30s, Hollywood is big time, man. They were big time. They were big time in the 20s.
Yeah.
During the silent era, because they were the Yankees, whatever. Whoever was running Hollywood, that was your option for entertainment, and you were getting it. You know, Lon Chaney Sr. had a son, Lon Chaney Jr., who became the Wolfman. You know, all the legends we know today of the Wolfman. Well, where do you think it really comes from? Where was the boost that shot the werewolf into our consciousness come Halloween night? A guy named Lon Chaney Jr. in 1941 playing the Wolfman. You know, very important things happened. And then there was a lull, like anything else, like pro wrestling has its lull. There was a lull in Hollywood for the horror film. The horror film began getting poked at. You had 1948, Hey Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which is great, by the way.
Right.
But the classic Dracula, Frankenstein, you know, et cetera, characters are presented in Abbott and Costello style. So much for all the good scares they gave us in the 30s and the 40s, huh? So there was kind of like a lull. Color all of a sudden comes into existence, but yet it's black and white that puts everything over again, and it's Psycho. I don't know if you've ever seen Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
I have, yes.
It's a tremendous film, and the real shock at the time, and I don't want to give anything away, but I guess I would have to. So if you folks want to close your ears for 30 seconds, the star of the movie at the time was Janet Leigh. she's not supposed to go anywhere. Well, she goes somewhere. She goes somewhere fast. And it was the star of the film. Hitchcock already had his reputation, but the star of the film was Janet Leigh. You know the infamous scene in the shower, right, Benny?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, Psycho, continued the horror map going. The 60s were not, to me, overly kind with masterpieces. But then you have the 70s, and you have the movie that still scares me to this day. And all those other movies I've mentioned, I can watch no problem. But this one, to this day, I can't. The Exorcist. Oh my God, bro, please. Why did you put that up?
Yeah.
I'm scarred for life from
Now,
The Exorcist. There's something about The Exorcist that completely unhinges me. Perhaps it's the religious subject matter, the possession of the girl, who in real life I believe was the possession of a boy.
yes.
I've looked somewhat into this, but Linda Blair was obviously the perfect pick. I'm covered in goosebumps, and I'm not sure whether it's from nervousness or excitement about thinking about that film. I will still watch it, even though I'm scared to hell of it. I will watch it, and it still scares the living daylights out of me to this day. There's something so dark, and when they would open her door, and when she was possessed, she would breathe out cold air. Do you remember how that was shot? How that was filmed, Benny? Like there was so many things that made her so eerie, and perhaps it's the whole possession thing that makes it really really hard for me to watch. How about you?
Well, I was going to ask you though, how old were you when you first saw it? And
Dude, I was like 6.
did you see it at the movies though, or?
I I I think so because it's 1973. Where else am I going to see
Yeah,
it? I'm
I was
6.
18. No, 18. Yeah, 18.
Yeah.
And
I got to be accompanied by an adult. What do you want from me? I'm
I
6.
took a I took a young lady to the Amityville movie theater, which gained notoriety because was it 2 years later was Ronald DeFeo at a
Okay.
bar, literally within walking distance of the movie theater.
Ronald DeFeo of the Amityville horror fame, Ronald DeFeo.
Yes, yeah, went
Right.
home and killed
Right.
his family. But
Right.
I saw the movie. It was actually the summer of '74 at the
Mm-hmm.
Amityville movie theater, and I thought, holy shit, this is
Yeah.
scary. I mean, not
Yeah.
even the scary is not even the right word. It was like
No. It's
like
terrifying.
yeah,
Terrifying.
like
Terrifying is the right word for The Exorcist. Terrifying.
and I heard whimpering in back of me,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking
Okay.
like, and I turned around, and there were three nuns in back of me whimpering. I thought, oh shit, this is bad stuff, you know. I, I to this day, that was 50 years ago, and it still gives me goosebumps just thinking about it.
Benny,
You, like,
I just got a comment from my wife Karen McDaniel. She writes in that she was 17 years old, and when she saw The Exorcist, she had to sleep next to her mom for 3 months.
I don't doubt it, you know.
I don't doubt it either. Are you kidding me? That movie horrified me. I couldn't sleep forever. Why? By the way, why would somebody take a 6-year-old to go see The Exorcist anyway? You got
I can't answer that one, Jimmy.
Bro, I saw Jaws when I was like 7.5. I'm like, I couldn't go near the water for like
I
ever.
I could see taking a 7 or 8 year old to Jaws.
Dude, too young.
That's a
No,
stretch.
no,
Well,
no, no,
I
no,
can
no.
stretch on
Benny, it's
that one.
19, no, it's too soon. No.
I can't do the stretch on The Exorcist though. That's way too young.
Oh, dude, 6 years old, and you wonder what's wrong with me. I wonder no longer.
I don't know that. I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm almost willing to bet that the psychology business was booming in the summer of 1974 after people saw that movie.
Unfortunately, the psychiatric wards in general were eroding and decaying. By the mid '90s, they were all gone. I think you know that I have an extensive knowledge of the abandoned cities that still remain. Long Island was the epicenter for psychiatric care, and they're all pretty much abandoned except for Pilgrim State, which is
Well,
a
then
shell of
let
what
me
it
ask
used
you
to
this,
be.
Jimmy, because I drove. For my first 2 years of college, I was living in Farmingdale,
Yeah,
and I drove to St. John's. I commuted to St. John's University, and on the way back, I mean, I could see it on the way there too, but
yeah,
I was it Creedmoor right off of Grand Central Parkway,
yeah. That would be Creedmoor.
and then I mean that was 1973. Didn't I mean I thought I remember like they did a piece on it where like it was even then it was like really I think it was
Yeah,
still functional, but
yeah,
it wasn't very clean.
yeah. It's quite minor though in comparison to what happened in Kings Park. Kings Park was beautiful. It was right on the water. It was the most beautiful site. It was well taken care of. The grounds were gorgeous. The buildings were old brick layered buildings from World War I to World War II era kind of construction. The way they made things back in those days, just beautiful architecture. Completely abandoned. All the power went off in 1996. It was this city, Benny. It had its own railroad track. It had its own mail system service. It had its own laundry. It had its own everything. All training centers and everything. The violent ward.
Well,
I know all about places like that. Unfortunately,
it's so
but
funny that you mentioned that place because I pledged to fraternity Sigma Chi Beta at St. John's. So on my hell night, and I was warned by the older frat brothers,
Hell Night.
my hell night, yeah.
Okay,
That's a whole podcast in itself.
that
But
sounds interesting. Okay, Hell Night.
yeah,
All right.
but the culmination of hell night was that you were blindfolded, put in a car,
What?
and you were driven to an unknown destination. Of course, you had no money because they made sure you had no money on you, and
Okay.
you were dropped
What do
off
you
somewhere.
mean? What do you mean? They made you like show them your wallet? What are you getting at?
Yeah, you had to like show your wallet. They. I mean, I went up. I put a $10 bill in my socks, and I got away with that.
That's funny.
But anyway, I'm thinking, where are these guys going to take me? Holy shit! And then we got to there used to be a toll on Southern State Parkway a long time ago,
Right.
and we had to stop for it. And one of my frat brothers says, "Which way is Ohio?" It's like, oh fuck, Ohio. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
somehow I got I got my blindfold open enough where I could see just barely, and I saw that they're driving on Southern State. And I saw exit 32, Route 110, Farmingdale. I thought, okay, well, and I knew that we left from Jamaica. I'm thinking like, okay, at least they're driving east on the island. That's
Right.
not too bad.
Right.
But
Right.
they dropped us off right in the middle of Pilgrim State. Right in
Yo,
the
that
middle.
place is a maze, bro. By the way, they drove you almost an hour for those folks at home who don't realize the distance between Jamaica and Brentwood, New York, to Long Island. But so they drove you for probably almost a good hour and
Oh, it was
dumped you off at the psych ward. That's pretty funny.
right in the middle. And I mean,
Right.
it was probably by then about 1 or 2 in the morning, but there were still people outside. And,
Still open.
Yeah. And we somehow, found our way off the place.
How?
Yeah.
It's a
And
maze.
there was
a maze.
a bar that was still open. And,
There was
yeah,
a bar. There's
I mean,
a
we
bar
were covered
nearby.
with
I
like,
had no idea. I lived there for 50 years.
yeah,
What kind of bar?
this is 76. So there was a bar that was open.
Okay.
And,
Before I got there. Okay.
yeah, I was, and I was able to call my dad.
I'm at a bar.
Yeah, at 2 in the morning, called my dad. He came and got us, and he drove us all back to Jamaica. And then everybody had their cars there, and I was able to get home. But man,
So what do you tell? So what do you tell your dad? Hi, I just got hazed because you did.
Well, he knew. I mean, I told my parents that it was hell night, and I told them I said I have no idea where they're going to drop me off, and that was the place. But yeah, I mean,
that's great.
It was a barmaid. She even gave us beers. She felt so bad. I mean, I'm covered with like chocolate syrup, baking powder.
Nice.
I mean, you could tell like I'm sure they've seen it before, or they had seen it before, but
trick or treat.
So that was my indoctrination to Pilgrim State.
Very nice, very nice. Well, thanks to The Exorcist, if we don't get The Exorcist, then, and this is what I love, about 5 years after The Exorcist, an independent filmmaker. Understand it. This is an independent filmmaker. This is not Hollywood, right, Benny? 1978, a guy named John Carpenter gives us Halloween, which is where we're at today, of course, Halloween. And it was probably the what felt to be the realest horror movie to date in 1978. Because think about it, all the other ones, whether you were Dracula, Frankenstein, it was always something supernatural, right, Benny? to be a monster,
Right.
right? But here's this guy. They dropped you off at Pilgrim State. Here's this guy who escapes a Pilgrim State, puts on a mask on Halloween, and starts going back to his hometown for a little cutlery. I mean, and doesn't say a word, hasn't spoken in 15 years. And this independent filmmaker turned this tiny little thing into a franchise called Halloween.
Yeah.
So you have that in the 70s. Jamie Lee Curtis got her career from that. It's one of my favorite movies, by the way. If you were to ask me, is it like my Bruno Sammartino or Hulk Hogan? Yeah, it is. I love the original Halloween from Carpenter that much. And the soundtrack is killer too. Don't Fear the Reaper. Oh, that's killer.
Oh God. Yeah. Now
Yeah.
we're talking here.
Yeah, we're talking 1978, bro. And it felt very real. The town felt very real. Uh, it was the way it was shot. It was taken very, very seriously, and nothing like it before. Because in the end, the monster is supposed to be destroyed. That's usually how it works with these monsters, these poor monsters that we fall in love with. Oh man, at the end, when you think about it, those rotten human beings got the best of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
But at the original Halloween, that's not what happens. Where is the bad guy? I don't see him.
Yeah.
And you have the closing music going, and I'm going, oh my God, where is he? He's not dead. That had to be, at the time, that was a shock that the bad guy, the killer, the monster, whatever you want to call, got away. And that changed a lot. That really did. That changed a lot. That gave us eventually Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street. That gave us Jason from Friday the 13th. The 80s was very kind to horror. I don't know how well you recall it, but there was some really good stuff going on in the 80s. Hellraiser from a guy named Clive Barker, some brilliant stuff. A lot of brilliant stuff.
How about somebody, Mike Rillerson said Salem's Lot?
Salem's Lot was amazing, bro. By the way, that's with Soul from Starsky and Hutch. If I remember correctly, David Soul, he was fantastic. That's a Stephen King novel. Almost anything Stephen King did to me was like, wow, this guy's so brilliantly twisted. What a mind Stephen King has. Wow. But the television, it was a TV thing, Salem's Lot, was excellent. Great atmosphere. Great atmosphere. Really well done. The vampire scared the crap out of me. The boy who had been bitten floating up to the window, like, let me in with his old buddy. Oh my God, that's some creepy stuff, man. Excellent. Good comment, too.
Gerard Millette, Tales from the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt was awesome. Was that more like a series, though, if I'm not mistaken, Benny?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I do remember enjoying it, though. Remember enjoying it.
And I told you, like, I'm the Joe Turco of horror films. Saw very few, but one that sticks in my mind was, and I don't know if it's really considered a horror film, it was creepier than shit, was something called Trilogy of Terror.
Oh, my God, Karen Black. Oh, my God. Now, the other two stories in the trilogy are decent to, okay, but it's that one with Karen Black where she gets the doll in the mail, and that doll comes to life, and that doll will not die, and that doll is so scary. The teeth on that doll, and it's not special effects that we know today. I understand how we're all fancy now with our special effects. That one is like The Exorcist, the one you just brought up, Benny. That's an excellent, excellent, excellent moment in horror history where Karen Black is being terrorized by that possessed demon doll.
It's really funny, Jimmy. Not really funny, but the true crime show I did on Monday about Sarah Boone, who zipped her boyfriend up in a suitcase and just left him there. But I remember in that movie, I very vividly remember that she put that doll in a suitcase, zipped it up, and you hear her making those noises, and you see that what was a knife, just like cutting open the suitcase.
Oh.
So I mean, I get scared just thinking about that. That was like 50-something years ago.
Yep. Trilogy of Terror scared the living crap out of me.
When you think about,
I think I was 7, Benny. Don't you think I was a little young? I think I was 7 when I saw that.
Yeah, maybe you guys.
That scared the piss out of me, bro.
So by 7 years old, you had that and Exorcist under your belt, like you were well on your way.
Yeah, I'm shot. And then he showed me Jaws. So let me get this straight. On land, I'm not safe. In water, I'm not safe. Where am I safe? Right? right? That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. I was just like, well, if I go to God, I mean, you see what happens in The Exorcist. Every time they go to God, something else demonic happens. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, this isn't good. You know what I'm
You,
saying?
you know, Jimmy, I was praying that the chat room would pick up my slack, which
Yours,
they have. Mike Rulis and Christine.
Christine was excellent. Christine is very underrated. I think that's
I
Carpenter as well.
Yeah.
Christine's very, very good film. Really good film. The way the car takes over the main character, and he does a great job of it too.
It,
Christine's a classic. I agree.
isn't it the
That's a
same
really good comment
the
right there.
same actor that played Rodney Dangerfield's son on Back to School, wasn't he, Christine?
I think you might be right about that,
I
Bennett.
think
It's been a long time since
all
I've
right. And
seen
here's
Christine.
Maria Davis, and I remember this one. I think this was also from
What you got?
1974. Carrie with Sissy Spacek.
Carrie was a very unsettling classic. It's a classic, one way or the other. Yeah, it gets pretty creepy. You know, there's a reason why we still talk about it today. I mean, Sissy Spacek. I mean, I knew who that was. Carrie freaked me out. I saw that probably when I got to be like 10 or 11. It messed me up. I'm not the biggest fan of watching it on repeat, but when I do get around to seeing it from time to time, it's still a great film. It's one of the all-time great horror classics, no doubt about it. I mean, I'm trying to think of other films. I mean, you mentioned there's cult classics. You mentioned it earlier to me before we went on the air. Motel Hell.
Oh God, I what a
Yikes!
movie! Love
Yikes!
that movie.
That movie's insane. The sausage that they sell is because they're planting people in the. What do? They break their neck and then they plant them up to their neck
What they do
in
is
soil. In
they
soil.
they shoot their cars. I think they shoot the tires out. Their
Well,
cars wreck,
you
so they're
got to
pretty much
abduct them
disabled.
first. We got
Yeah,
that part. Yeah.
yeah. They plant them in the ground. They slit their throats so they can't scream.
Right.
They put a sack over
A
their
paper,
neck.
yeah, over their head. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they feed them gruel, I guess, to make them fatten them up. And
Yeah.
then when they're sufficiently fed, then they put
Right.
a rope around their neck and then what do they attach to a tractor or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. To a full tractor trailer.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you become sausage.
Right. Right. They grind you up and they serve you to the public, and the
That
public
reminds
loves it.
me of Jeffrey Dahmer's favorite song, "Billy, Don't Be a Weirdo."
Oh, dude,
That's
that's
bad. I know.
holy,
Sorry.
holy cornball Batman. Yeah, that movie, bro. That movie is twisted. I like it though. What's wrong
Yeah.
with me?
How
I
about the
like
Hill?
Motel
Mike
Hell.
Rolson, another one. The Hills Have Eyes.
The Hills Have Eyes. The original one was fantastic. Great atmosphere. I love the desolation feel of it. You really felt like you were out in the middle of nowhere with that situation. That was a really, really underrated, but I think it's been appreciated over the years. The original Hills Have Eyes. That's a really good horror flick, especially
Jason
one of
with
those driving movie classics. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Oh yeah. Jason Moaning with George Romero's Two Evil Eyes.
I don't think I've seen that.
That one
Wow.
doesn't have made me either. Not that it
Yeah,
would,
he's
but
got me on that one. I'm ashamed of
yeah.
myself. I should probably know and love that one, so I apologize.
How about Gerard said? How about the Final Destinations?
Another one that got past me. You know, I wanted to talk about what about the great Jack Nicholson's performance in The Shining.
Oh my God!
The
And
Shining
another
is
one that I believe that was 1974 as well. That must have been a great year for.
well,
for
no,
these...
The Shining was 1980, I believe, or it's a little bit later.
You sure about that?
Yeah, yeah, because Kubrick was busy doing Clockwork Orange in the early 70s. Uh,
I'm gonna look that up.
I want to say The Shining is 1980.
The Shining.
Yeah, bear with us, folks. But I'm taking
All right.
look, I'm an old fart, so if I'm wrong, I apologize in advance.
No, you're correct. The Shining.
1980.
Very good, Jimmy. The Shining is a
Yeah.
1980 psychological horror film produced
Yeah.
and directed by
Masterpiece.
Stanley Kubrick.
It's a masterpiece because Kubrick did things like that. You could always tell when it was a Stanley Kubrick film. I mean, he did 2001: Space Odyssey. He did a Clockwork Orange is probably one of my 3 favorite movies ever. So it's pretty obvious I'm a fan of the Kubrick approach. The Shining is one of the great horror movies of all time. Jack Nicholson's performance alone, and then By the way, she passed away recently too. The one who played Jack's wife. It's eluding me right now, so forgive me. But and she passed away recently too. On top of it, so somebody help me out there. Who was Jack's wife in The Shining?
We seem like
But
we have a lot of
she was
aficionados here.
she was fantastic. The Shining was just shot brilliantly, filmed brilliantly. It's a work of art. The Shining,
I got
work of
here.
art. Shelley
Let's see.
Duvall. Thank you, Karen.
Oh,
Karen saves my ass.
nice. Right. Thank you, Karen.
Shelley Duvall was tortured, unfortunately, in real life by Stanley Kubrick. He got the most out of her. He wanted her terror. He wanted and demanded her terror. Do you understand what I'm saying, Benny, as a
Yeah.
director? That to me is rough. But you know what? To her credit, and it messed her up too. She did say it messed her up. Look, I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. What I'm saying is that the end product, as far as Mr. Kubrick goes, mission accomplished. Her performance as that axe is going through the door. Here's Johnny. We all know here's Johnny, right?
Right.
It's just what a masterpiece that film is, and the twist ending where he's in the photo as if he always was in 1926. What are you? What? Whoa! Wait a minute! What? You know what I'm saying? You see Jack at the end in the old photo from the old days because the ghosts are always visiting him from the 1920s. So it's really what a bizarre, beautiful film. What a mind wreck. I love
Oh
The
yeah.
Shining.
Absolutely
You know,
classic. Maria Davis with His House. Have you seen that one?
can't say I've seen that one. Look at the chat is blowing my mind. What year was that? Help me out,
Yeah,
Maria.
Maria. I don't know what year is that. Mike Rullison again with. And I saw this one in the movie theater, Deliverance with Burt Reynolds.
Oh, no, please. Totally agree. Oh my God. Mind fuck.
Not really a horror movie, but man, oh man,
You
what a
know what? If it's going to twist your mind up and bend
oh
it in those sorts of ways and fuck with you, yeah, why not? I just saw No Country for Old Men. Finally. Yo, bro, the bad guy? Yeah. Holy crap. No thanks. No thanks. He scares the fuck out of me, man. I'm convinced. He's nuts. What about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Little love for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one? While we're
I
at it.
I saw that one. Yes.
The original one was great. That's another drive-in classic.
Yeah.
That is totally terrifying. That movie, hanging people on meat hooks. Good Lord, where are we going in Hollywood, Benny? What's becoming
Right.
of us, dude? That movie was hit with serious shock factor. I remember that people were banning that movie. Took a lot
Let's
of heat.
see. We
Turned
got
into a franchise.
my My Bloody Valentine.
I remember the original. Sure, it's okay. Wasn't bad. Definitely memorable. There was a movie called The Fun House. If you want to get into clowns, The Fun House was great.
I
That
think
was
so.
a
Yeah. Scarecrow.
Scarecrow. Oh, Pumpkinhead. Ooh,
Maria
the
Davis.
first, the original Pumpkinhead, Benny. Ooh, go
How
on.
about Cargo?
I'm trying. You know what? Nope. It's it.
Well, I know you saw this one, Poltergeist.
Oh, Poltergeist is a masterpiece. Poltergeist is a masterpiece. You took
That's
the
me.
headstones, but you left the bodies, didn't you? You took the headstones, but you left the bodies, didn't you? Didn't you? Dude, that's some great stuff right there.
Jason with Children of the Corn.
Yeah, oh, well, of course. The original, but please don't give me the rest of them for the most part, and I can for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Some of these turn into franchises just because of Freddy and Jason and Michael. You understand what I'm saying, Benny? In the
Yeah. Oh
history
yeah.
in the history of it, Michael, Freddy, and Jason are responsible for horror franchises. They truly though originated in the 30s, if you really think about it, because Frankenstein was a franchise, wasn't he? Dracula should have been a franchise, but wasn't. The Wolfman was a single shot. So you know what? I guess Frankenstein was the original franchise in horror. If you
Yeah.
really got to think about it, because Boris Karloff played it for three great films.
B40 may have the comment of the night.
Yeah.
Billy Squires' "Rock Me Tonight" video was a horror show.
Oh my God, bro. He ain't kidding. Dude, I hated that video. I was like, what are you doing? Why are you wearing pink pants and jumping up and down on a bed? What are you doing? I mean, talk about taking your career and just, it's sad too, because if you listen to Billy Squire from when Billy Squire was Billy Squire, and you know what I mean, Benny. Billy
Right.
Squire was pretty damn good. He's pretty damn good, you know? He was. He rocked. He had that Zeppelin Aerosmith feel. He rocked. And then all of a sudden, take me in your arms. I was like, dude, what are you doing, bro? Oh, it was rough. Very rough.
Lord of the Flies from Gerard.
Lord of the Flies is kind of twisted. It's more of a slower moving, slow burn. It's okay to me. I've never jumped on board fully with it, but I know plenty of people have.
How many of the Jaws movies did you see, Jimmy?
The what?
How many of the Jaws movies did you see?
I think I've seen 4 of them. How many have they made?
I don't know. Yeah,
I know this much: the original Jaws is a masterpiece. There's no way around that. It is. The mechanical. And by the way, when you're a little boy, and it's 1975, and you're seeing the original Jaws for the first time, and you're seeing it in the movie theater, and it's the blockbuster hit of the summer, the mechanical shark scared the shit out of me. All right, I don't want to hear how it looks today to some people who would say that. Fuck that. That shark rules. That movie rules. Robert Shaw effing rules. Rules. Shaw just takes it to another level. They all do, really, when you think about it. Scheider, Dreyfuss.
Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss.
Dreyfuss was great. The whole movie is great. 2 was good. I agree with Karen, who's chiming in, because Jaws is definitely one of her subjects. 2 was good. Jaws 2 was good. It wasn't like, it wasn't near the level of the original. But it was good. The third one, to me, it starts to be like, who cares? Here we go. Lou Gossett Jr.'s in it, though.
Okay.
But I stop after 2.
All I know is I saw the first one. It was summer '75. I was 20.
Yeah.
And I saw it at the Amityville movie theater again.
Nice.
And
right on the water. Right on the water.
Right. And the name of the town, wasn't it Amity?
Yes, because it's based on Amityville, where you were seeing the movie, my friend.
And I used to probably go to Jones Beach about once a week. I don't think I went in the water that summer.
Dude, it scared the crap out of me, bro. I had a problem in people's swimming pools, and you're talking about going to the beach. I didn't want to. Dude, you couldn't get me to a beach for years. Bro, I'm talking for years, man. I don't think I really went to a beach until I was in my 20s, dude. I'm serious. You think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. Jaws fucked my shit up.
Yeah,
no,
there you
thank
go.
you. No, thank you. Jaws fucked me up, man. I was like, and I'd hear the music, because when something works, everything works. You ever notice that? When something works, everything works.
Oh, yeah.
So you're talking about the music of Jaws, written by who? Wasn't that the great John Williams, who wrote Star Wars and a million other, great. John Williams, by the way, hundreds of years from now is going to be looked at as a Beethoven. You know that, right?
Yeah.
John Williams is, So anytime I was in the deep end, even when I'm like 12, room, room, roll, roll. Oh my God, forget it. I'm done. I'm out of the pool. I'm drying off. What a sissy. What an absolute sissy, Benny. I'm putting myself under. Jaws scared the crap out of me.
Mike Willerson, Helter Skelter.
Well, now you're talking about real life. Helter Skelter, the one that I'm sure you're referring to, is excellent. The original, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That was excellent. And no, not because I find Charles Manson fascinating, even though I do. I'm on record for that one, Benny, obviously. Mike
absolutely.
Mike always goes after me for, you ding dong, you like Charles Manson. I'm like, I like aspects of him, okay? Let's not get carried away.
The guy was a fascinating human being. You can't deny that.
He really was. I mean, some of the stuff that would come out of his mouth was actually like what do they call those kinds of people? Well, obviously he's a psycho and he's insane, but he's got this intelligence level where he's almost prophetic because like
I
a
was going
lot
to
of the
use
things he
that was the word I was going to use. Prophetic.
yeah, because a lot of the things he said back then are a lot of them have come true. It's
Right.
like, oh my God, he like saw a lot of crap. He really did, you know. And he really, when they asked him, "Do you belong in prison?" His answer was, "Your prison is your mind. I'm not in prison. I, I'm fine." You know, he meant it too. He was
Right.
like, "Your prison's in your mind. You put me in here because you say I'm a bad person." You know, he's like, okay, I'm not going to make this bad for me. What the fuck? Guy's nuts. But he makes sense if you
No.
understand what I'm saying. I'm like, oh my God. He's like, your prison is your mind. Wow. You know, I mean, why did you wind up there, bro? He was smart. So obviously he was smart. He was also nuts. Would it be the first one, though, right? Bundy was smart. Since we're on a Halloween subject, Bundy was a very smart person, wasn't he? He had a
He
high.
was very smart and very charismatic, very
Right,
persuasive.
right, right. And then there's the guy next door, Jeffrey Dahmer, who really looks like the guy next door, doesn't he?
Right.
Jeffrey Dahmer looks like the guy next door. He's eating people. Happy
You
Halloween,
know,
man.
and the one thing with Dahmer, I mean, you know, doing that true crime podcast, almost every serial killer, without exception, that we covered had a broken home. You know, Manson, obviously, right?
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know, even
Well,
Albert DeSalvo, the Boston Strangler, his dad would bring home hookers and have sex in front of the kids. I mean, just weird stuff.
Was Berkowitz adopted?
Yes,
Yeah.
and Berkowitz had issues with his parents, but
Yes. Yeah.
you know, by all
Yeah.
accounts, Dahmer's parents were fairly normal, I think.
Yeah. No, it makes no sense. You know, I mean, Dahmer knew what he did. Dahmer wasn't an idiot.
Right.
That's another thing. It's like, you know, the scariest things of all are the conditions of people's minds. How can you tell? Being the next door neighbor, you know, who was the guy who was abducting children on Long Island? He's from East Meadow. His name's escaping me, but he kidnapped kids and stuff. They finally got him, and you know, he's the guy next door.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It
Things
really
are not
doesn't.
always what they appear to be. I agree.
No.
So I guess so. Mike won't be too mad at us. We got to cover a little wrestling here. So
Sure.
I you know, I no longer am able to